Well, according to the little red dot in the corner, we are live. I'll just
Perfect.
wait until it shows up on the feed and we will proceed from there. Um, it comes up and tries to do this downloader thing every time. So here we go. We got Anya on the right and we got Paul on the left. That doesn't speak anything of our political affiliations, but
that was good.
and it says publishing to public, but it only goes to friends. So I got to manually do that. There's a bug in the Zoom software or something. Ah, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm tired of this shit. I got a freaking sore neck, and I had one hell of a weekend. It sounds like Anya's been having similar. I don't know who else is going through it, but these full moon energies, all this kind of stuff is just kicking the shit out of me. Uh, I don't want to be a spiritual worker. I don't want to be a light worker right now if it means I got to keep putting up with this bullshit and this dragging out of whatever's going on in the world. I have no trust of any of our political leaders, including the ones that are supposedly our white hats, because how are we ever going to trust people that have no transparency and want to hide everything and keep shoving shit under the table and then fooling people by publishing lies and getting people's hopes up and then smashing them on the ground? This is just this ongoing cycle. I got to call out guys like Trump and whoever the white hats and all this kind of are. It's some people are going to get hurt in the process holding this out for your ego or whatever bullshit's going on behind it. I don't feel as a light worker that it needs to go this much further because I'm at my end. Money's running out. Everything's stupid. I can't walk in the world anymore because everybody's so much in fear and anger and frustration. And it goes for both sides. So if you think you're helping everybody by dragging it out and making it perfected and all this kind of stuff, no, I think you're hurting people more than you'll ever imagine. And I'm calling you on it. And I know there's going to be some other people that agree because there's a lot of light workers that have been misled. There's a solar flash coming. There's something happened at Christmas. There's something happened at whatever. And we are fucking fed up. And it's time for some of us to start talking about it. And I'm going to. So
Yeah, you're doing it.
vent as well. But time for a change. Massive change, and I'm ready, and I'll head the charge. But in this thing where I don't know what's going on, nobody tells us anything. We're just sitting and rummaging around in the trash, waiting for some people that got big egos to roll out the plan that saves everybody. Sorry, my hope and my faith is fading fast. I'll lead my own charge. You guys go do whatever you're choosing to do because I can't wait anymore.
Yeah, I'm. I felt that too, especially with the way the election in the U.S. happened, and like I think everyone was like glued to their phones or screens or whatever, just like all these reports that were flowing in of this is what's going to go down, blah blah blah, like white hats have control, whatever. Like it seems like it was all like a different ploy, but from the same dark team, just like trying to distract and build up this hope. And after that experience, I kind of tuned off from all of that. Like, and like if I had like a news feed come up with, oh, solar flash, be ready, or like the Christ rising is gonna wipe out everything or whatever have you. I'm like cool, but I stopped associating it with it or placing any kind of hope to it. And I stopped trying to feel like some force is gonna save this situation. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on me, focus on raising my vibration and just being that light and just saving my own universal reality, which could cascade to the other holographic reality.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
that's what
don't you
I've been thinking.
still feel a little bit trapped by lockdowns and having to walk outside and have a mask and people just wandering around
um
wanting to poke? I don't have any control over those. I ignore them as much as possible, but it feels like a cage because I can't go out and do things like enjoy movies or go sit in a restaurant or whatever because we're fucking locked in a cage of our not our design or our choice. and every bit of the political system is corrupted. How can we even stand up to that? So all we can do is stand inside. I agree 100% with what your path or your choice was, but doesn't it still pull at you all the time?
I've accepted it. What I've kind of I don't wear a mask unless I'm going to the grocery store. I don't even take one with me
Mhm,
if I'm taking walks or whatever. And I've actually started planting and seeing more people not wearing masks as much. So that's been kind
mhm,
of nice and like we'll smile and stuff. Um, and I've just been on this wave of just being unbothered by it. Like I'm just at the point of it's been a fucking year. Like how can this fear be still at an all-time high level? Like it's
mhm,
ridiculous at this point. It's been a year. It's
mhm,
done. It's done.
mhm,
And like I've just been unbothered, untethered to that narrative and just I'm just like it's done. Like I'm not
mhm,
tripping.
mhm. And then meanwhile, you can see a video of a stadium packed right full of people in Jacksonville, Florida, screaming and yelling and cheering on whatever. And then a state or two away, it's completely locked doors and we're
It's
terrified.
wild. It's so wild.
Absolutely. And we're in Canada, the whole friggin' place is under control of this communist dictator Trudeau. I saw some stuff published from him about how much he likes China and how much control they have, and it makes really easy to run a country and all this kind of shit. Well, yeah, when nobody has any rights and you can just lock them in their cage whenever you feel like it, no wonder.
Yeah.
So,
There's I've seen that there's like a bunch of protests happening in UK, I think around England.
mhm.
So it's just not being talked about in a mainstream way, but I feel like there is a resurgence or a movement happening.
Well, there's some results coming out from the Arizona stuff or whatever, and there's only like 20,000 he run by, but there's I saw a detail today and it said it was what did they say? 180,000 votes were fraudulent based on their latest things. So yeah, that swings pretty quick. And they said 150,000 exactly were new voters registered after the time limit of registration. How would it statistically 150,000 is impossible.
Perfect. Yes, yes,
That's a
yes.
number you put in a computer, and that's what the vote difference was. Anyways, I don't want to get down into that
Yeah, yeah.
notch, literally, but so we're all standing in this time like never before, where reality and truth and falsehoods are all completely manipulated to serve some agenda that we don't know
Mm-hmm.
about. And we're sitting in the confused, we're sitting and doing our work. And I don't know. I don't see any results of it other than maybe I feel a little bit better sometimes, but the fucking work is so painfully deep and hard sometimes. It's just like I don't want to get out of bed next day because it's dealing with family lineage trauma and the little girls and little boys of all the people in your life that didn't do their work yet and they want to lash out and make you responsible so they don't have to do their work, and I won't allow that anymore. It was okay. I'm gonna
I've
make
been
a make a statement about what happened on the weekend. It was so fucking surreal. Um, I made a post speaking of confessions of my past, and I don't talk a lot about it, and I'm not defined by it, but I felt so called to speak how, and I don't see this as blaming anyone, but I had to speak of how my mother's rape as a child, and apparently she doesn't want anybody. At one time she gave me permission and I was going based on that permission. I tried to talk to her again and she doesn't want to reopen that wound. I lived an experience of not having a mother that was to that wound and felt like a stupid little child her whole entire life and couldn't even tell anybody about it until I started to do deep work on myself 3 years ago. And she comes out of the closet and I can see every bit of it. It's like the inner child of me wanted to make his mommy happy and make her feel good and to make her feel safe. So I felt safe and I never had that chance. I got robbed. Some people would disagree or whatever, but I got robbed of having a safe mommy. She had a nervous breakdown and then she was on pills for the rest of the life I knew her. She was a mummy in some way, shape, or form. And I don't regret it. I did it. It all happened for a reason and for me. But my whole life was fixing my mummy. in every woman that I ever met because I couldn't see that wound and how I chose way back then. And some people may say that's my fault because I didn't choose better. I had no other friggin' choice the way this world would design that. So I spoke about it. I got it out into the light so that other people could see it. And if women want to see me as a broken little boy that's still living in that, they're welcome to, but no fucking way. I'm not standing in that anymore. I've forgiven all of that. I've released all of that, but it still made for 90% of my life experience. It damaged my ability to have sexuality. It damaged my ability to have women and girlfriends in my life. I just kept attracting those people that were broken, that wanted that healing, and this energy propagated until I figured it out and I've released that. So it's not going to happen again. Well, my sister read that. She's 2 years younger than me, and 11:30 at night on Saturday night, she texts me and says, you realize you don't have mom's permission to do this, and you're victimizing her by saying these things. Please stop. I realize you're hurting, but I see. Anyways, that's how she ended it. And it was like, if you saw that, what I did, which was very apologetic and simple, and it wasn't like lashing out at her, accepting responsibility for everything. If you saw me victimizing her, dead stop. It was like, okay, all the things that have happened with my sister, and she called me out on my sexuality and my talks and how I make her feel uncomfortable and all this kind of stuff. I just said, no, done right here and right now. If you're going to think that, we're done. I said, you better start doing some of your inner work. If you see this as me traumatizing somebody and victimizing them, you're dead wrong. Goodbye. Unfriend, complete. And I have no shame. I felt so complete and so finally, like that would have destroyed me before. It's like my sister sees me as a victimizer. No, that's her little girl speaking that she's being victimized by somebody else. And I triggered it and she wanted to hurt me. And I'm like, I will not unwind that for her. I will not be part of that process because it would just hurt me even more. I know who I am. I did not victimize anyone. How can I speak of my experience and heal my experience if we keep all these dirty little secrets in the back closet and pretend they don't exist? Ask how many people on this call and watching this thing have dirty little secrets. We don't talk about that in our family. Uncle John was this and Joe did that or whatever, but it's too traumatic. We're not going to talk about it. So I stay that if I was that person, I'd stay traumatized for the rest of my life because we don't talk about this shit. Well, I'm telling you right here and right now, in my world, that door is wide open. You talk about your vulnerability, you talk about the things that hurt, you're going to find out that 50 other people in that circle of 100 have the exact same experience, and to give them permission to talk about it. You want to know how many women came after I did that live and said, you speak for me. I don't have that courage. This is crazy. I felt this had the same experience in my life. And it told me that that was right. Some people would say it's just a wounded little boy. No, it's a strong man standing and saying, no fucking more is this going to continue. How many men have lived that experience with moms that didn't? And then women complain that some of these men need nurturing. Some of these men want love or mummies because they didn't get one as a child because they were raped or they were hurt or some bad thing happened. So does that make the man bad? Does it make even the woman bad that caused it? No, it's a fucking genetic trauma that's going down the line, fucking everybody up. So they can't have love. They can't really be pure in their intention to someone else because they got this wound that they got to get nurtured through a little bit. And I'm not saying a man that I need to lay my head in a woman's lap for a few hours once a month, maybe for 6 months, and then it's done. Because then I've let all my trauma out and I've let my tears out. I just need to be heard. I need to be held, not anything more. But it's like, oh, you haven't done your work or whatever. Well, just understand that some of those little boys are still hurting as little boys because their mom wasn't present for them. And all they asked for was unconditional love.
The mother wound is so powerful, and it's like still so much being studied and shared about. And I think we have like this condition that we need to protect mom at all costs. And we do that naturally. And, you know, mom is always this victim and we need to protect her and all that stuff. But yeah, the mother wound runs deep for little boys and little girls.
well, girls can have the same. You can even have a father wound. I can speak of some father wounds as well.
For
I
sure.
was screamed at the table from about 5 years old until 12 for not eating my vegetables, like terrifying, like angrily screaming at me. And it shut me down to deal with any kind of violence or any type of aggression in my world. I don't blame my dad. That's how he was brought up, but that's trauma. If you don't think that's trauma to sit there and squirrel up into a little ball and have no choice, you hate these things on the table, is it going to make you feel any better to shove them down your throat and gag and puke on them? No.
So what happened with your sister since that text?
I cut her off. I won't talk to my sister for a while. And I'm completely and totally okay in that
Mm.
because this is the last straw. She did something. My parents had an anniversary and she convinced her daughters to do this verbal presentation that my boys didn't agree to. And she tried to guilt my three boys into doing the same as her
Oh
two girls
God.
and my brother's two girls. And she completely alienated all of them because she wanted to be seen as this mom that respects her parents and some story. And I don't want to read anything into it, but it was against the will of my boys. And my son didn't hardly participate in the family or that
Yeah.
anniversary. It was their 50th because he felt so put upon by her request,
Yeah.
and he won't talk to her again. Another time she sat down with me and she says, oh, I'm really worried about you, Paul. You're talking about sexuality all the time and it's really shameful and guilty and it makes me feel really uncomfortable. And she was just sitting there across from me like she was trying to help me and questioning my whole reality because it made her feel uncomfortable. And I give an unconditional love, and she's going through this divorce thing with a narcissistic husband and she hasn't listened to any of it. And it was just the last straw. It was just like, I tried, I tried, and there's nothing in any book that says that I got to do anymore.
No.
And when it just really shows that, are you really loved by a person that immediately thinks the worst of you? There's like 9 million other ways she could have come and approached that, but I victimized my mom because she was feeling victimized in some way. I would never victimize my mom. My mom is the most beautiful, loving soul. I love her. She had some nasty experiences and I respect those experiences, but it's got to be honored that that affected me. It changed who I am and I don't blame her. It is, but somebody's got to talk about it. If we keep sweeping it under the table, nobody's going to win.
Yep. Yep.
But all I'm going to say, same thing happened with Patrick. We haven't publicly talked about it, but it's okay. I don't know how many times I've been through experiences with people and it just, the universe brought it to an end. And I'm not saying it's an end for either of those people, but it brought it to this point that was really easy to just say, okay, let them sit with their shit. And silence is golden from my side because I am completely okay that I didn't do anything to deserve that, but it was their projection speaking it. And when I can feel okay about it inside, immediately a calm comes over me and I know that it's their stuff coming out. I just take a breath and I walk away because otherwise it would be this back and forth of trying to prove that I'm wrong from that. And I just rose above it. Patrick wanted me to be a vegetarian and that I had to deal with stuff in this certain way. And it was questioning his reality, the fact that I was doing it at a different pace in a different way. And when it came out, I was just like dumbfounded. I was just like, what the frick? It's like, that's yours, not mine. My way is my way, and I love my way. And if you think I'm doing it wrong, there's way better ways to talk to me. No judgment, no nothing. I love both of them. I just don't have to talk to them right now to love them.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Um, did your mom find out about the video?
I spoke to my mom the next day because I wanted to be really clear. That was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on a trip and stuff like that. And she said, she didn't say I couldn't. She says, I'd prefer you don't because it makes me feel, or it makes me feel like we're bringing it out of the closet again. And I'm like, okay, if I haven't resolved it for me, is it okay to put it in the closet for you, but not for me? And we talked for a while and then it just kind of fell apart, and I love her for it. And I said, I love you, Mom. I guess this isn't the time to talk about it, and we'll move forward. It's not part of my self-definition, but I got to speak openly about what my experience was. And if I'm not allowed to, it's just like a tilt. It's like, okay, we want to hide it to protect someone, but we don't want to follow it through for the other person. I am so confused by the whole process and why it had to be this way. It just makes me want to vomit, and I don't want to have conflict with my mom, but I have to speak of it because it's so important to the world and other people.
It's the full moon in Scorpio.
And I don't want to fucking do it anymore. That's the last straw. Yesterday just made me want to die. I did not feel good, but I was so crystal clear, and I had to. And this calm came inside me, and I said, I have to make this call to my mother, and I have to do that to my sister, and I had to do that because it just ends the energy of the old way. And I don't want to keep having to do that. There's a lot of people that aren't pulling their weight in this world, I feel, and that's not a judgment. I just do a lot of collective stuff that isn't fun and good. But I will not live in a world where those things are covered up and hidden, and they affect you, and then you feel bad, and you feel small, and you feel ashamed. And I'm not feeling ashamed anymore. That was the choice.
You also, I think it was in one of your videos where you mentioned, we're kind of here to clean up the DNA of our ancestry. And so I think that was like a big cleanup move because, we're stopping that cycle from repeating.
Things like rapes and abuses of women in families, or family members being part of it, or whatever, are a karmic lineage that weren't cleaned up by our ancestors and our predecessors, and they're here to be cleaned up. Like I said, my mom couldn't even speak of this thing until I did a whole bunch of sexual healing on myself, some of the deepest workshops I ever did. And then a month later, she's like saying this thing that happened to her, and I'm not even sure my dad knew. So
it's interesting that happened to her, and then you kind of wind up in a situation with your ex-wife where there was this unsaid thing. So it was just like a mirror of that.
I had to clean it up. I've been forced over and over and over in my relationships, all my dating, all this kind of stuff, to go and directly witness this and shine light on it. And I have.
Yeah.
And I sure hope it cleans up my ability to date and have those kind of things, because the personal me, the healer me, is a completely different transcended part of me that's fully purified. And it's not about sexuality or my pleasure. It's about witnessing and holding space for the other. But this Paul me that's in this body, he has those things percolating from his past. And I see it in women. It's like they want to show up and they want me to fix them, but they want me to do it for free. And then they want to walk away the minute that they got their healing. And that's how I felt as a child. It was like, all I wanted was to feel loved afterwards. And you never came back and loved me afterwards, even though I gave you this thing. And I felt used a lot. And yes, it's my choice. And I didn't state those things. But it's happening over and over and over again with men and women. And it's this push-pull that using the wound of the mother to get whatever because they have their own father wounds, or I don't know. I don't even understand it. It's so mangled, it makes no sense.
Yeah. I think that was a powerful step, though. I feel like you probably shed a lot of light, and it probably transformed some stuff. Yep, that's the face. That's the face of accomplishment right there.
Well, I don't feel like I won. I triumphed over that, but I maybe alienated my mom. I alienated my sister by guaranteed. And
but you got to talk about it. You got to talk about it.
I had a talk, but in the middle of the talk, it was just like she phased out and she was talking to my dad about directions and where to go and stuff. And I just knew that the light wasn't being recognized in that moment, or maybe she was upset or emotional or whatever. Anyways, I tried.
A prophet is not known in their own land.
Yep. I'll go to Egypt or Costa Rica right now.
There you go. There you go.
I want to be known far and wide for somebody that stood up for changing that under perspective, because I always used to think I got away pretty lucky, but the traumas that I had were so subtle, like getting screamed at about your vegetables, or being alienated by your dad, or that your mom wasn't present in her body because she
Yeah.
had this trauma. My parents were great people. We went around all over the place. I always had food and good things, and I don't regret any of it. But the way people forced them into being turned off in certain ways. My dad died the week of their wedding. My dad's dad died the week of his wedding,
Oh
and
gosh.
he had to become he was the oldest, and he had to become the patriarch of the family or whatever. And those are traumas for him too. And I fully recognize those things. And I
Absolutely.
don't feel hurt by those things, but we're in a world where it was all about getting a job and getting ahead. And so you had enough money to pay your kids and get retired. So there was an absence as well there. And I don't
Yep.
blame him for it. He did a good job and he supplied great for us or whatever. But there was a part that wanted a dad.
Who was
A
emotionally
lot.
there.
Exactly.
Yo.
If he's
Lem-
always worrying about work and what the next job is going to be. And he went from the lowest position you could have in a big company all the way to the highest, like running areas with 3, 4, 500,000 people. And he did a really good job. And I'm really proud of him for all those things. But he wasn't home as often as he could be. We'd go camping and the phone would ring and then he'd have to be gone. And there was dad gone or whatever. And he was doing the best he could. I don't blame in any way, shape,
mhm.
or form, but those little things affect us more than we're being allowed to acknowledge.
Absolutely.
So even things like, I don't know, cultural things like Russia, men have to be big and strong or whatever, and women are in the home, in the kitchen, the babushka or whatever. Like, fuck, where did these all come from? And
And
then can you imagine what's in you from all that?
let me tell you, let me tell you,
Go
let me
ahead,
tell you.
please.
I also had an interesting family dynamic experience. Um, we played dominoes, and so we've been doing that. It's been really nice. Yesterday, we were playing dominoes, and my sister and my nephew are staying with us. And my sister made a comment about my nephew because she thinks that he's not meeting all of the performance requirements for someone his age. And so it worried her. So she made this passing comment, and then it like triggered something in my mom. And then like they just started exchanging some words. And then I started mediating the whole damn thing. And it was so crazy to witness how my sister finally vulnerably shared that she cries all the time because of how she feels about her son not being developing with the other kids. And she says that she cries all the time about it, and my mom just brushed it off like it was no big deal. And I think I hear Jack. And I think and I said, I was like, Mom, it doesn't matter, like that's her reality. You're literally invalidating her reality and telling her that she doesn't have a right to cry. Like that's a, Jack is here. Hold on. Here.
Is that your doggy friend?
It's
Oh,
Jack.
cat. Well, there we go.
But and she's my sister. So I haven't seen my sister cry in I don't know how long, but she finally cried yesterday. And my sister was in tears, and my mom was still being stubborn and not, like you want to be embraced at that point. And I'm calling my mom. I was like, Mom, you're like being in your defense mechanism mode, but your daughter is right here crying, and all she wants you to do is see her feelings, to just say, you know what, sweetie, it's gonna be okay. And she can't do that because my mom has this crazy ass Russian woman programming where she's like iron fist, like we don't cry, like you make big deal. Like it was insane. I think we spent like an hour, like it was so gnarly, but like they all said everything they needed to. And my sister doesn't, she's not emotionally intelligent, so I asked her permission. So I just started speaking for her, like saying, you're not validating your daughter's reality right now. Look at what you're doing. She just needs this from you.
Yeah.
It was insane, but it cleared a lot of things. It was such a tense thing of like the elephants that haven't been addressed in our family. It just all came out. Woo!
But look at the self-work in you that needed to be cleared for you to be able to even see that latent unexploded bomb in the room, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how many of us need that, right? Like that's, you only find that by doing the work yourself. It's kind of like it was in me first and now I can see it. It's just glaring right now
Mm-hmm.
that it's in her and both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
you're this massive mediator and this massive clearer of energy. And isn't that still clearing the energy for you? Because your mom's going to treat you that exact same way until it's pointed out for her.
absolutely.
So by mediating there, you've actually solved some of your own reality pressures, maybe.
Absolutely. I think so. And I think that it cleared something. I felt it like in my body, like when I was going to sleep. And I think everyone was super reflective after that whole discussion. And I think at least subconsciously it will plant seeds, and people will start making different choices perhaps. And like seeing my sister finally cry and be vulnerable for God knows how long, that was just, I was like, what a breakthrough.
But didn't she have to cry to get the energy out?
Yes, she did. Yes, she
And
did.
there's nothing shameful in that. There's nothing
Nope.
like you poked her so hard she had to cry or whatever. No, you shone the light on it until it exploded.
Yup.
Wow. So it was intense, but in the end, did you just smile inside?
Oh yeah, like my guides were, and everyone was like, "Wow."
Yeah.
Oh god. No, but it was like, because me and my dad, we really have our issues, and it's my sister and my mom that have those issues.
Mhm.
So it's been just like clearing all of those dynamics. Yeah.
Wow. But it's like living in an unexploded minefield, just waiting for something to pop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, cause like, like you said, like, oh, we don't talk about it, but it's still there energetically.
Hmm.
It still lives. You're just not talking about it. Doesn't mean it's gonna go away.
But did you call any of that in? It just popped in your face in the middle of
Dominoes.
game night.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of like my sister. It was just like a text at 11:30 at night calling out my whole reality. And it's like, no, you don't get to do so. Goodbye.
Yeah. But you
And
have
go ahead.
two, how
I've
many
got a
siblings?
younger sister by 2 years and then a yet younger brother by 2 more years.
Okay.
My younger brother does yoga teaching and
Oh,
something called
cool.
architecting, and he's on a very spiritual path. My sister's on a very spiritual path too, but she's dealing with narcissism, and I'd have to say she's become a narcissist because she's dealt with
By
narcissism.
association.
It's kind of sad because she won't directly deal with him, but she'll go after anybody outside of him instead of him. And I won't deal with that anymore. So
So we're in interesting times right now. I feel like with our family dynamics.
she chose a really hard path, but she made some choices that made it even harder for herself. And there's absolutely no just judgment. I love my sister. She's a beautiful soul, but until she can see herself in a better light, I can't participate.
Yeah, I agree with this. It sounds parallel to my sister, where she just chose this more difficult path. And I don't think it needed to be that, but she did it anyway, which is cool.
It was more comfortable.
It's more comfortable.
You
It's more
chose the rocky
comfortable.
path at a time when the rocky path wasn't even a rocky path. It was covered with grass and muck. Because if there's no clarity, there's no people to help us guide it through it. And you had to find your own way, and you're plunged your face in the muck, and I'm all cut and beat to hell right now because I found the bramble bush path more often than not. But I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk about it in vulnerability and not feel ashamed about it, and hopefully encourage other people to do the same.
About it. Yeah.
There's a way, and we found a way. Our way may not be your way, but there's a resource here waiting. So if you're suffering in pain and don't know how to get through this kind of shit, the likelihood that one of these two people are going to have a common experience is probably pretty high. So reach out and ask. We'll spend some time together. But would the next 6 years of suffering be more fun than spending an hour and with us, and we can kind of point out where we see things are part of current reality and you may not be aware of it, but you're going to learn eventually? I'd pay for the shortcut anytime. I went on all these courses and all this kind of stuff. I didn't go to counseling, but I tried to take these workshops, and most of them didn't work. They were like 1/10 real reality or actual universal truth, and I sewed it all together from 9 million different places, and I got this perspective.
Yep.
So I can't say, hey, just go read Esther Hicks' book or whatever. I can't remember what it's called now, but
Ask and it is given.
Exactly. That'll help you, but that's one little step in climbing up the ladder. When you've got freaking 50,000 ropes tied to your ass that are all social responsibility and programming and all this kind of shit, you don't even have the slightest why the manifestation doesn't work and why you can't climb the ladder and you get pulled down every time. Searching for love outside yourself, finding a partner that's going to love you and you'll love them so you feel love back. How many times does that work for you?
God.
Exactly. But the whole world will tell you that's the only way.
Yes. I mean, it goes back to that. It goes back to just giving our inner power away, giving our inner sexuality power away, which is very much connected to the God in us.
Absolutely. How can you create if you are angry or in lack or whatever of sexuality, of pleasure, of you don't have the cleaning mechanisms working in your body that are designed of orgasm and pleasure and that rush of sensual touch and the energetics that come from having a masculine presence joining with the feminine presence, and that can be any gender mixing. It's been all taken from us. And if we don't have that, our system's not being pumped. And I'm not talking about sexual pumping. I'm talking about that energy moving through our body and that blast of clearing energy. You don't have the pipe cleaner going up and down your system and all those positive hormones coming in. If you had those positive hormones in, and I'm not talking about a pill, I'm talking about oxytocin and serotonin and all these natural things that our body gives out when we feel pleasure, when we feel happy, when we play and we have fun. How much play and have fun and pleasure and bliss do you have in your life right now? It's almost zero. You can't go out. You can't touch anybody. You're going to get an STD. You're going to get COVID. You're going to whatever. And you're going to then kill your grandma and you're going to kill your whatever. It's so insane to keep us. You can't even interact auras anymore because you got to be 2 meters apart. And did you know that auras most people don't even touch at 2 meters apart. So we feel completely disconnected from the world.
Yeah, but I think that, trusting in that bigger plan, like that is so necessary because now not everyone, but a lot of people are in that space of really having to look at their shit, whether they want to or not. They can't really go out to the bar right now or anything. So I think that's good because I think isolation is important. I know it's been a fucking year and all of that, but I don't know. I trust the bigger picture.
Well, you trust the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I'm firmly of the belief that when you've done enough of your work, you exit this timeline and you step on the positive version of this timeline. And that's the piece that I think what Candace was talking about, those codes, we bound ourselves to this 3D energetic, but now we found our way out, but we can't leave until we've cleared those codes that didn't allow us to progress too quickly. So who's going to be the best to say that you're living your light and not using it for bad than people that you're in a community with or a soul family member with? And they're going to get to know you and they're going to know your intention and they're going to give you your gift back.
Yeah, let's talk. Could we really quickly go to back and talk about the Candace Co codes that you
Well,
mentioned?
Latvi says, I see subtitles. It's a new thing. We're
We
getting
have
subtitles.
subtitles.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
We're special. Let me just go. Hopefully I don't break off our other one, but I'll see if I can find Candace's post. I should have done it on my phone. Here we go.
Okay.
Candace said, soul group. On the relative plane, we are also part of a soul group, which is why we are attracted to certain beings and information. The soul group or groups we are attracted to contains activation codes to release our latent memories. These codes were hidden prior to our birth, and we are guided to those who can assist us according to the clarity of our intuition and the courage to follow it. Our soul group is the microcosm that puts us in resonance with the vibratory structure, which is ultimately leads back to God with dots in between all the letters.
Mm-hmm.
The soul group attracted to the knowledge of the law of time, the prophecy of Pakal Votan, are seekers of the universal path that unites all other paths. They are seekers of the ultimate creator of all source codes. These source codes step down into the path in the synchronic order. What have we forgotten? Seeking the key codes held within our soul group became necessary because of the fall or the shattering of the original unity of God. This was the point that we became fragmented. Our memory was largely erased, or rather displaced to be remembered later. This event of the fall or shattering set multiple ancient traumas into motion. Many messengers, seers, sages, saints, and masters were sent to this planet as lighthouses and reminders to the people of the original plan or mission. They were sent to give warnings and instructions on the path back to the One. These holy ones activated the vibration of God and the memory of the new light into the sincere receptive seekers. Pakal Votan was a chief among the masters. He represents time's special witness and the unity of time. It says the universal wisdom is contained in our body, not in the machine intelligence. It's a vast holographic database. So
Wow.
sorry, I didn't ask Candace permission on that, but it's on our public timeline and it really resonated with me. So apologies, Candace. I'll try and ask before, but that was pretty important information. Before she shared this,
Mm-hmm.
I was right at the end of my rope, and I actually sent her a message saying I need help. And not 5 minutes after that, about the same time she wrote it, I was asking for that. The very thing that's in here is reaching out and becoming soul family and starting to bond together
Mm-hmm.
to do that. And that to me felt so pure, so right, that, and I've been drawn to Candace, not like physically or like in love or whatever, but drawn because
Energetically, yeah.
she has these divine feminine. I watch her and I see four different women. I told her this yesterday. I see the little girl in play, and then I see this priestess, and I see this masculine entity, and it just kind of flows within her as she's doing light language and all these things. And we're getting called into soul family. Like we resonate at a certain level.
144.
Well, exactly. But here's a one for you. How many? I've seen so many people saying they're meeting up with their twin flames and they're part of the 144 and all this kind of stuff.
Aw.
There's a lot of really pure people that
Yeah.
I think are the 144 that have nobody in their life yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to believe that that's already happened, I don't think the world was ready for all of them to come. Maybe a few have come together, but the true 144, if people don't understand that, that's 144,000. It's in the Bible and a whole bunch of different places, that we were beings that had 4 arms and 4 legs, and we were fully masculine and feminine, and the gods tore us apart and meant us to walk around the earth as separate feminine and masculine. And we've lived both, but those are source fragments or people, source fractals, I've heard them, people that were part of the beginning that broke off. They've spent like all the lifetimes on earth and worked through everything. They kind of have the element of an ascended master in them because they've worked through all of this kind of stuff, but they don't have it now. they're just walking this earth, relearning their path, and certain knowledge is coming in, certain codes are being shared so they can step back to their fullness of their higher self. Not that they're better, but they came to be way showers. They came to show unconditional love, show that new depth of love that doesn't exist yet, so that that can be seeded back into all of humanity, so everybody can experience that and go to that same place and master themselves. But it needs people that were willing to go to the depths of sorrow and pain and suffering and hold space for all of this. How many times have you felt that you've lived through every dark bit of darkness on this planet in some way, shape, or form and had to heal it? And there's no fucking ego in that in any way, shape, or form. I wanted to die more times than I can count, because that darkness is not fun. But if I'm going to speak to people about it, I have to have a visceral experience in it so that I can speak from truth.
Yep. Serve
So
that medicine.
Come join me in this job sometime. It is the most thankless job you've ever had in your life. Nobody says thank you. Everybody's triggered by you. Everybody is angry, and there's absolutely no ego. I can be the humblest person in the world, but it feels like suffering like you would not believe. And I don't want to be here sometimes. And it's okay. I wake up the next morning and it somehow passed. But living that level of darkness, being hurt, being wounded, being attacked, having no money, having all these things so that you can feel the depth of every possible experience. It may sound cool, it may sound fun. It is the hardest thing you will have ever experienced. So I pity the people that have chosen this path. I have compassion. There's a better word. It's not pity, because I've experienced it. And I know some people that are going to listen to this are going to resonate, and they're going to know that, okay, yeah, there's other people that are feeling this, because it ain't fun. My son's it as well. Fortunately, I get to see the mirror of it. He just can't even get out of bed some days. It's just so hard. And we were like complete despair this morning, screaming at the universe and God and all this kind of stuff. Why the fuck do we have to sit in this shit? No answer came. But I got up and I breathed and I walked around the lake and I had a beautiful conversation with Anya, and I'm smiling again and I'm projecting the light somehow magically, right?
I think it's good to have those conversations and those yellings. I think
absolutely
it's necessary, actually.
I don't think God and the universe, because they exist outside of time, really understand how hellish it is to sit and wait and wait for something to happen in the world so that I can start to be free again. Outside my choice or all my dreams or all my wishes. Trust me, I can manifest small shit, but lovers, sexuality, money, trips, any of that kind of stuff has been impossible for years. It was all lessons.
How do you manifest? What's your
manifest is simple. It's just, you want something, you feel the emotion of that something and feeling it and having it, and then you let it go. It'll be something stupid. Like, it's like, oh, I need a cheese grater or a bagel cutter. And then I'll go to Value Village, which is the cheap thrift store or whatever, a week later, and it'll be sitting right there for dirt cheap. And I could have cared less whether I got it or not. And it was there.
Well, see, that's part of it. It's like, and that happens a lot with, the bigger things, where you still have to have that aloofness in a sense, where you don't care. Like, either way, you're good. So it becomes a bit of a trickier game when it's the stakes are higher, where you really want that treasured experience, and you're like, fuck, man, like, it'd be really nice to have this, but I do feel like a fear is coming up that is blocking me. But I was gonna suggest, do you do like vision boards at all?
I'll go grab you one and show you one. I haven't done one for a while because almost nothing came up out of it. But yeah, well, for example, I got it right here. You just go through a magazine and I want love. Yeah, some of that's there. Stand tall, beautiful, trusted care, take it to the max, batting 1,000, beautiful women. technologies, quads, camping.
Yeah, that's dope. Um, do you have it like where you could see it?
I used to. It was posted right on my fridge or whatever.
Mm.
If I'm going to do another one, it's probably time to do another one. But
Yeah, do another one.
versions of it have come. Okay, there's a table. I can show you what my table looks like now. It's not exactly that, but it's dark colored like that. I've got kayaks. I don't have a quad. Some of the things come there, but it was stuff that really didn't matter, and it came through stuff like this, which is all fine.
And you have the truck.
I've had Ford trucks for a while now. My new one is blue, but I'd love to have some quads, little shining faced people, do more sailing, get
Do
out
a
for picnics and trampolines, and yeah.
do another one. Do an
Oh,
updated one.
things are changing. I will trust that I probably will, but it used to be so good when you could get just piles of old magazines and you just go through them and cut pictures. But now
Yeah.
it's a little harder.
Yeah, I just go online and just Photoshop it and
I'll put it into the vision board. That way you don't even have to put it on paper until it's done.
yeah, you just press print and that's it.
Yeah, cool.
Um,
Vision boards are helpful, getting in the energy of it, but some of the things, I know my sexuality and my relationships
mhm.
are at levels beyond what's possible in this 3D reality with all this shit. I'm here to ground something deeper and to have gone into deep 3D relationships with all this wounding and other stuff. It wouldn't help anyone. It would have just created this messy
Like little echo chamber.
mess, right? So
Yeah.
so I'm holding out for something more.
Yep.
And there are women starting to interact on that level, but they've got wounds too. And we just, like we said, with that relationship stuff that we were going to talk about today, but building like that 3-month trial
Contracts.
period and all that kind of stuff, those are going to be the parts of healing, the last little bits of all the shit that we haven't been able to deal with. And I don't think that can happen until COVID's clear and the truth, though, because people are going to want to touch massively. They're going to want to hug. They're going to want to go out in events where they can be with other people. And I don't know what the bars are going to be like or whatever, because that's the old way, but to get people into intimacy and have a structure that they can feel safe in, that I think would be the greatest gift I could give to the world.
I can't wait to just make out with someone.
Just sit for hours or cuddle or hold or just spoon. Like, wow. That's what you deserve.
Thank you. Wow, we just jumped on a lot. I don't know where to jump to next. But touching on the Candace co-post, I do feel that, and like even having met you by the algorithmic chance, but still kind of maybe faded in a sense. Like I feel like you gave me some codes.
I shine them out to everybody. Like, listen, take into truth what's going there. I'll show you the way that I know. But we'll cajole it out of people, right? During a discussion, it's like, why are you thinking that way? And why are you thinking this way? And you don't even know you're doing it until somebody says, what the fuck?
And since our talk, like I still think about it, and I've been programmed a certain way, and so I've just been making more of that mindfulness to remind myself of the mojo of the root chakra, of the sexual energy, and just pump it up. And like I'll just like even walk a different way and just like feel the energy and shake it around.
That's what the capability is deep down inside of us, and we're just sitting there kind of afraid.
We forget.
We forgot, what feels good.
We forget. We're caught up in the same loop of those 60,000 thoughts, but they're the same fucking thoughts. But like we're like, okay, we got the first one now. Okay, now we got a second one. Okay, and then back to the first one. Blah, blah, blah.
But they're programmed into us all day long, and every TV program, every billboard, every way people talk to us forces us back into that stupid
reinforcement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So come and sit with a bunch of other people and talk about things in a different way and get them to call out, why are you saying it that way? Why did it feel that way? Did that feel good? Did that that's what living your light I'm trying to do, is just to get people cajoled into sitting down and having those really frank discussions, having people come to my basement and having a beautiful barbecue or a potluck or
Mm.
whatever, and then
Mm.
just sit around with people you've never met before and
Yeah.
see their perspective.
Yeah.
And you're going to notice something's different about their perspective because they had a whole different upbringing and a different set of traumas and a different set of how love is. And then you
Mm-hmm.
can start to connect, and that intimacy starts to grow. Do you want to go to the bar and meet someone and become deeply intimate with them when they're half splashed? No, you want to sit with somebody that's really present and grounded and share an experience of connection.
Isn't that crazy that that was the template of how we operated? You know, you go to a bar with your friends, and then you know you you look around the room, you see, oh,
Did,
maybe
did you really have discussions with people? You're shouting over the band and everybody's screaming and drunk and talking about, did you see Led Zeppelin, or did you see this, or did you see that, or whatever? And it's all junk.
It's so junk. But that's what I was thinking about on Friday night when I made that video of like, holy cow, like my life was so different, like even a year ago compared to right now, like
So
going out.
what do you really miss out of it?
You know what it was? I think it was the spontaneity the potential for spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
uh, It wasn't necessarily always guaranteed, but the potential for spontaneity and, meeting interesting people and adventure.
But was there ever really any place that you could do that other than at a bar in the world? It wasn't at your church. Where are the communities that got that deep in a level that you could, other than at the bar?
Yeah. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
intention of others wanting to connect and hoping to get laid and hoping to have a good conversation or whatever, and they're paying $200 worth of alcohol in the night
Yeah.
to do it. How broken was that?
Very broken.
So what if you could come to a place like, I'll set up my basement and we'll all bring a potluck item and we'll have a good meal for an hour and a half, and then we'll do a little grounding exercise, and then we'll just have people spread out and talk and share, and if people want to do an exercise over here of touch or something, go over here. Otherwise, just go sit on the brown couches and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
What kind of place could that be?
I
Like,
mean, they used to do that, like, I think 1800s, when they had the salons in Paris and shit like that, but it's not common anymore.
and why did it get pushed that you have to have alcohol to have a good time? You had to have alcohol to open your
You use
communication.
yourself up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, you're sitting in a ball and it's like, oh, I can't have sex because of this, or I can't have that, or I can't connect. And then they just get plastered, and then their
They're
boundaries are
loosened
down.
up. Yeah, they finally loosen up, but it's to the degree that they're not even conscious anymore.
And then they are traumatized. They wake up in somebody else's bed tomorrow, or they did some stuff, they got pregnant, or whatever. Same with guys, right? It's like, holy shit, this woman was like crazy and she scratched the shit out of me or something, or whatever, or her ex all of a sudden showed up in the middle of, and I got the piss beat out of me or something.
That's hilarious.
That's the insanity of what we did when we went to the bar.
I know. It's fucking insane, but it was so fucking normal at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But people are still holding on to that modality, like they're still like, no, this needs to remain. This needs to remain.
Well, but because where else can you connect
That's
at
right.
that level? The
Yeah.
salons are gone. You're not getting it at work. You're not getting it at home. So where do we construct places
Yeah.
where you don't have to get plastered to have a good time?
You know what? That is so true. Like, I don't know, maybe art shows, but they serve wine there. But you're right, it's very uncommon to have these things. It's like hasn't really.
Well, if the money flowed into my hands right now, I'd buy a 10,000 square foot facility. The middle of the place would be just filled with comfy couches and coffee tables, and there'd be a little tea shop or coffee place. And all around the outside would be treatment rooms. And you would just come all day long and meet your mentors. And then there'd be workshops that are in the back all night long of different levels and circles. And if you needed a healing modality, you'd go off and there'd be a little triage lady that would sit there and say, hey, I think you need this, and she'd book you into one of those little rooms, and all the people that I know that have modalities would rent those spaces during the week to host their healings.
events.
What a beautiful place that would be.
Yeah, that's dope. Healing
And
center.
then during the evenings, it's like, okay, it's free for all in the front area where everybody just coming, and it's no alcohol allowed, but you can put a band or something up and put the couches out and do a little shindig in the middle, and then maybe some other people are doing a workshop in the back, and maybe it's sacred sexuality stuff, or maybe you start off with that kind of potlucky feel in the front, and then, hey, there's opportunities and we still got spaces in room 1, 3, and 4, and here's what you can do. And people just get into it, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go do that. I see myself building structure and systems and all this kind of stuff to set these up all over the world.
Yeah. Would this be a nonprofit?
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, once again, it might have to, for the first little while, it's like, okay, $20 a month to be able to come or whatever. Sure. And then after that, once it was everybody, like I said, everybody that got affected by it, if they gave 10% of their first year's increase from what they did as part of the community, that thing would spread like wildfire, and it would be no cost to anyone. Yeah, if you want to go to the workshops, okay, yeah, maybe it's $20 to come in, but nothing would be expensive. Nothing would be, I just going through a thing with a lady, and she wanted 997 pounds to do a 7-week thing with her. And that's like $1,500 Canadian or $1,800. And like, I'm not 9.97, I'm talking like just under 1,000 pounds sterling. And I'm like, how can anybody afford that right now? And I'm doing my best or whatever. Get this stuff to the people, and the people will pay back once they've succeeded. Why wouldn't you? It would be just like, okay, I'm going into this community to spread my light. Or maybe you create a modality that you share with the community, and instead of paying back in money, you pay back by doing free workshops and all this kind of stuff. Then everybody's just happy because it's amazing.
Yeah.
But once again, like you said, where do we go to? It's not the bars. How of a hollow experience? How many times you went to the bar and nothing happened, or you just angry drunk people and you didn't have any connection, but you wasted $100 on booze or whatever. In Canada, it's expensive, right?
Yeah. There's like definitely a lot of nights where I was like, I should have stayed home.
Yeah,
just stayed home.
Well, and then there's other communities where you get high on weed, or you get take mushrooms, or go to some rave or whatever.
Rave, yeah.
How many violations are happening there? Because now all of a sudden you're in a mixed space with people where you don't know the energy is going to be. If you're going to take mushrooms, you should be in a really held, clear, energetic space with people that are space holders that aren't on mushrooms, that can sit and hold you and ground you when your shit comes up. Because those medicines bring your shit up, whether it's an escape or not, it brings shit up. And a lot of those people that we consider stoners that are just like, oh, and just smoking weed all the time, they're running away from all the shit that came up, and they just got to be on weed all the time or whatever, because they're not looking at the insight that medicine brings.
Yeah. And I treat it as a medicine if I do it. Like, I don't like smoking in the morning or like during the day. Like, I do my thing. And then like on Sundays, that's like God day. So it's like clean, pure. Although I did have limoncello yesterday, but that was it. But usually, I don't like being consumed by a substance like constantly.
Well, you're here as a spiritual being, and you said something just before we started that we're coming out of hell.
Oh yes, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. But that's what those tools do, right? They calm you when hell gets too hard.
Yeah,
it gives you a break for a minute.
When hell gets too hard, for sure.
So explain that experience. Go ahead.
I just am. The more I've been observing things, the more, and I see I see my sister's reality and all the suffering she has, and the people we see with their suffering, and I'm like, and I just think that we are in hell, and we came down here to this fucking little hellhole to lift up, to vibrate up higher to the heavens. it's that phrase, let the demons run amok. The
Mm-hmm.
fucking demons have been running the fuck amok
Mm-hmm.
on this plane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think about like the successful leaders that are, all making the front covers, the politicians,
Mm-hmm.
even just like day to day, there's just some cruel ass humans that you question, like, are these like really fucking
Mm-hmm.
humans?
So you're not seeing fire and brimstone and demons, but what are you
No,
seeing in place of them that are just in secret behind
consciousness, the energy.
the energy? You know?
Yeah, and it's like I fucking have come across a lot of fucking people that were not people. That there was just this dark energy, including my former person that I was with, which kind of opened me up to it. But I was like, we are literally all sitting in our own personal hell,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the greatest trick that has been placed upon us. Like, we can do it ourselves. We are the mechanism to perpetuate that suffering. And
And
like,
where does our suffering come from, right? It's a societal programming, and then we're sitting in our head. All the ways we act with other people have no integrity or truth in them. So we just get stuck in our story of not being
yep,
good enough that was programmed from the day we were born.
yep,
Who hurts us more than ourselves? It, I love her or something couldn't even, might not even say something, but we think that they think something,
yep,
and it will torture us to death for till the day we die. And we
yeah.
never even knew the truth of why.
And we're here in this like masochistic, sadistic pattern that we created all by ourselves with just like a slight help from the darkness.
Well,
And
more than
like,
a slight help, but yeah, keep going.
sure,
It's doing it
um,
all the time.
it is, but it just plants the seeds, but we take the rest.
Yep.
And so I was just like, yo, like this dimension, whatever the fuck we're in, is for sure like that lower vibrational dimension. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we have birds chirping, thank God, and beautiful nature, but I just think that it has been taken over slightly by that darker energy.
Well, there's levels of it, and the darkness has
Yeah.
really squashed everything
Yeah.
lately. It's taken over the whole collective reality,
It
and we're
had
witnessing it.
it did, but in present tense, the light is
Well,
very
shining in, it hasn't
shining in.
won yet by by any means because there's still huge amounts of control. You're in California; it's just as bad as anywhere, isn't it?
No, it's actually kind of funny because since Governor Newsom's ass got recalled, things have seemingly opened up here.
Okay, magic. Canada sure as fuck not. Excuse my French.
Yeah, like they're opening up the yogas, studios, and all of the shops.
Well, the biggest demon you've ever met, look her up. Her name is Theresa Tam. She's the health minister of Canada.
Mm,
She was a man originally. If
mm,
you look, all I see is just pure darkness. And
mm-hmm.
she put out a thing and said lockdowns will not stop until at least 75% of the population has been at least first level vaccinated.
That's insane.
And I'm like, over my dead body. And do you think 75% is gonna happen? I will not take something into my body that for a disease that or a sickness that doesn't
Experimental.
even exist.
Yeah,
So it's all fear.
very much so. Like, look at the fucking governor. I don't know, the mayor of Chicago. Like, that lady looks crazy.
Yep.
No disrespect, but she looks possessed.
Yep. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about here, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we are talking about this evil that exists uh, in plain sight, and they're supposedly doing these good things for the world. I'm just going to try and look her up just so you can see, but and it's not meant to slam her or in any way, shape, or form, but I have seen pictures of her where she is just like absolute pure darkness, and you can see it for people that she designed the whole World Health Organization, the whole pandemic plan. She's been part of it since the very beginning. So she's the root of a lot of what's going on. Uh, here's not a great one, but there's the person.
Mm-hmm. You can see it in the eyes.
I don't feel light and love and anything coming from there. I feel just this anger and this frustration and this wound.
Darkness.
I would say that feels like a demon to me in a body. I don't know how many else people feel something like that, but That's where we're talking about hell, where there's these people that are in high positions of control and they're spreading pain and suffering down because they have control over certain people. And some of these people that they've taken a control of, it's been against their will. So I'm not saying people are willingly just following this, but there's stories about Trudeau. Like Trudeau grew up with a whole bunch of, his dad was a pedophile. Did you know that Trudeau was, you can see the pictures, I was just looking at it the other day, she's the son of Fidel Castro because Trudeau's wife was sleeping around. That was his lover. And if you look at the pictures, they look identical.
Oh God.
I'm not trying to spread a whole bunch of conspiracies, but what you'll find out is a lot of the people that were in high places were pedophilically, they basically, it became like a mind control.
Yep.
And they were taken as a child, and then they would be perfectly suited and controlled for all leadership positions going forward. So that's why a lot of the people that are leaders are keeping on leaders. This has been happening for hundreds of years.
Yes.
So every single one of our leaders and the people at the high levels all have some level of, and the pedophilia is satanic in origin. It's about sacrifices and hurting and pain and wounding, and it basically takes over your ability to consciously think, and they've got it all perfected. And those are all of our leaders. So do we have a chance to go up against individual leaders? No, we've got to shine light into the back of it, dissolve all the control, and then hopefully their minds pop out of it or they move on.
Yeah.
Because that's the hell we're living in, is this exists at the high level, and it was systematically taken of all the leaders, all the people that are running the military, all the people that are running the police. It's not every single person in it.
Right.
So there's light inside the police, there's light inside the military, there's light in all of this kind of stuff that's pushing back, and eventually it'll snap because it's only 1% of the population that are driving everybody with this control. So we're sitting in it, we're seeing the perversion of everything that's light and good. How much pull do you feel on yourself every day when you have something good happen in your life? Does it feel like it's stolen from you within an hour or two some days?
Some days.
And it wasn't even yours. It was just like, no, you can't have that because that invalidates me as the darkness.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're terrified now that we're dissolving them and they don't know what to do. So they're lashing out at us all the time. And I am so fucking lividly tired of sitting and just having these waves come in of anger and frustration at me, or being triggered through my sister or other things where some darkness is sitting. I don't think she's even consciously aware of it, but she was told to say that because there's some shit that she's dense around, and that's okay.
Yeah, she's in the system still, so she's not.
So how many people feel henpecked by these energies because, and they say stuff that they don't even mean or didn't intend to zap the person that's shining too much light?
Absolutely.
All day long.
Yeah.
Is that hell?
Yes. How
many good people do you see that are good people? They were just cut down in their prime or not recognized as good. I watched this show called Gold Rush, Dave Turin's Lost Mine or whatever. Beautiful man, 60 years old. He did all the gold room and he accomplished all this stuff, and instantly he was snuffed out. August of last year. The most beautiful, humble person I'd ever seen in my life. And he had a heart attack right there in the middle of the show. And they had a whole show about how good of a person he was. That's happening all the time. Light workers that are just shining their light are getting burned out and giving away love and trying to help things and losing the battle. Some are moving forward, but how many do you think have popped out the top and are living a really sacred, beautiful life yet? Very few.
Maybe.
I hang around with a lot of light workers, and there's not many that are getting rich and being really successful yet, because something's coming. I don't know what it is.
For sure. But yeah, like I think of that, like, why wasn't it easy? Why did I have to have these challenges? And then I look at this person with like no soul or talent, but they're like, on the top of and I'm like, this sounds like there's some kind of deal being made that I didn't make.
How many of those, like you were talking about Lindsay Lohan's and all these Disney stars and stuff like that, they had to give up their soul in some way, shape, or form, and they got really dark afterwards.
Yeah.
It's sad. Like the Britney
Spears.
Spears or whatever. Yeah, look at the shit she went through and crashed hard, and then everybody
Yeah.
hated her, and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, you hear the stories about Tom Hanks. You see even like Mel Gibson, he supposedly rebelled against it or whatever. There's all this shit.
Yeah.
What's the other one? That child star.
Macaulay Culkin.
Well, some of those, yeah. Supposedly, what's his? I'm not even going to talk names because my brain just won't bring them up
Yeah,
now.
yeah. That's fine.
But they've all been influenced. Look at Madonna's and look at. I hear Madonna's got this high-level priestess status in Satanism or whatever, and that's why she's not in the limelight anymore. But and then Lady Gaga or whatever.
And these are our idols that are exposed 24/7 that we are encouraged to worship or strive to be or consume.
Well, what was your feelings all your life about Oprah or Ellen? It was like I was drawn, but there was something that made
something
me
not
gag.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
been
for
so
me,
many. Go ahead.
it was like just this, I don't know, this influence of just consuming pop culture, listening to these boy bands, Britney Spears, and all of, those
Well, what's the
pop
Bieber? There's the other one.
Bieber.
Supposedly he had a baby with Selena Gomez, and he was told to become part of this dark thing, and he went to this ceremony, and he said no way, and they said they'd kill his kid if he didn't. Like, but he came out public about it, and everybody thinks he's insane.
I didn't hear about that. But he doesn't even look right either. It look like I look at the celebrities, just even looking at their picture, it just looks like there's nothing there. It's all vacant.
Sold their soul.
But anyways, I don't know how we got here, but this is where we're at.
But do you resonate with getting to those places? Because it's just like blood money almost to be successful to that level or be part of Hollywood.
For that club, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, we're doing the best we can, and we're shining a new light, and it'll be interesting to see all these things, how they come together in a different way. What's the light in Hollywood and movies and stuff? Because I don't think those things are bad. Do you see the amount of shit? I was looking back and I watched this movie called The Patriot with Steven Seagal, and the guy that's the militia leader or whatever and going against everybody, he gets this like worse than anthrax kind of disease and puts it out to all these people. But he's talking about how the UN's controlling everything, and our government and ETFs and stuff are just taking away all our rights. And this was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And it was like truth. And we're seeing it now. Now he was a bad guy because he was trying to kill everybody by doing this, putting this poison out. But Steven Seagal finds these flowers and they boil the flowers and it becomes the inoculation that heals everybody. And it's all Native American medicine and all this kind of stuff, but it had this beautiful circle. And I don't know, he was testing the serum and like 6 different soldiers all died because they couldn't find the thing. And then they stumbled across the people that were drinking the tea were okay. It was like
very interesting.
Cool. But that's the kind of world we're living in. It's all kind of mangly.
It's so mangly, and like everything is happening at once, and there's so much information all being thrown in at once, so you don't even know what the fuck is what anymore. That's why I stopped consuming either conspiracy or mainstream or whatever. I'm just like, I just know my truth. That's it.
And that's okay, but eventually it just feels like you're in the bottom of a hole waiting for stuff. You can only shine so much, and that's where I'm kind of frustrated. I feel the same way. We stay home, sleep in, watch some movies or whatever. No work's coming in. It's not like I'm consciously choosing that. The darkness is pulling at me, but somehow enough money's coming to pay the bills.
Beautiful.
And I don't like to be in that position, but what can I do about it? Struggle against it, be angry or chase or whatever? No.
Resistance is futile.
Exactly. So we're living in that world where all the darkness is pulling, and then eventually look at all the sunspots and shit that are going on right now and all these weather storms and all this. That's the light shining in so frickin' strong that the darkness doesn't have a choice. They can go down into the center of the earth or whatever, and the light's still coming through because it's all radiation and plasma and all this kind of shit. So it's dissolving it.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that last time where the darkness can't even handle it.
Well, that's from our personal energy feeding back to them. Now we have the sun on top of that. Go look at space weather, and these massive sunspots are coming, and there's solar flares, and it's shutting down communications and shit because what they call coronal mass ejections or whatever, and they're all coming straight at the Earth all at once, right? All to push us and to change us. I want to see it shift because each time that happens, I don't know about anybody else, my body aches, my hip aches, my arms feel like they're being torn off some days, and I'm just exhausted. I don't sleep at night. It's like I sleep for an hour and then I'm up and then I'm back to sleep. It's all normal, but there seems no purpose for it. So it becomes, after 2 years of feeling this, like, what a waste of my time. It's not, but it feels that way because I have no knowledge of what's going on and I'm not being permitted to, and I feel a little angry about that, and that's my choice, and I can do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's people that think they know better and they're doing a different process or whatever. I think what's going to come from all this is there's going to be an immediate need for transparency at all leadership levels, and you won't be able to keep secrets, and CIAs and governments and FBIs and all this kind of shit are going to have to be full disclosure or be gone.
Well, I saw Russell Brand's video today, and he was talking. I think he posted it like a day ago or so, but he was talking about how the Pentagon is finally admitting to UFOs and like validating their truth.
I'll look on my page. Candace posted something with all these faces of alien. There's 328 pictures that have been sketched by somebody with names and of all these different races of star beings.
Wow.
And it was cool to look at. A little bit scary, but normalizing it.
Let me ask you a question. Do star beings, like these other alien forms, are they immortal or are they mortal?
I think everybody's mortal. I think we'll have choices of how long we live, and immortal could be 300 years in a 80-year lifetime human. I think the choice becomes ours, and then eventually wanting to go into a new form to try new possibilities and new experiences, because I felt that I'd been a master before in lifetimes, and eventually I had to step away, and I came back for this because it was the ultimate experience of being human. Is to work through all my shit, rise above, and then teach from my understanding. But back then it was impossible. I couldn't. Like, if I became a master thousands of years ago, and there's absolutely no ego in it, I just chose to figure out a whole bunch of stuff about the human experience because I've been through thousands and thousands and thousands of human experiences, or part of God that has been that. After a while, it's just like, okay, this is worn out, stuck in this mire of darkness and control that we've all agreed to. And now I've come to shine this unconditional love, and I've sat with this unconditional love vibration inside of me, and it's not compatible with most of the people I talk to. They can't feel that vibration, and it feels uncomfortable, or it triggers them.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But I came here to, the stuff I speak about, some people can't comprehend because I'm leading the way, not because I'm better or anything like that. I'm just leading the way to have unconditional love as a basis for sexuality, as a basis for interacting with other people. And somebody has to ground that reality in before anybody can follow it. So it makes me feel really misunderstood, and I can't be accepted by just everybody because, or maybe that's my belief or whatever, but a lot of people, they just feel uncomfortable because I'm looking at that level, or they see my wounds, or they see that I was carrying predator energy in the past or whatever. But I had to have all those things to be able to get me here.
Yeah.
And now I intimately understand them, not because I was those things, but I chose different than those things so that I could create a better place for everyone, and me especially. If that makes sense. So I think most people that are rising to this level have been around on this planet many, many times before, or they came with a purpose and they're a star being, and they're just inserted to transcend all the karma or whatever. They just came with it all done already for a very specific purpose. It's like, I need a leader in this area. Certain people are fully ascended without any real heavy. I met many that have had this is their first time on the planet, and they are completely out of place, and they look like aliens just in their body shape and other things, and that's all okay because we needed all these roles filled.
Yeah.
What do you think? You've been around for a while, don't you?
I think like literally I'll have like these weird moments of like I've done this life before, like the same exact fucking life. Like I've done this before. Like it felt so familiar. I just forgot it. But yeah.
So do you feel you've been many, many lives here, or do you feel that you've just arrived
I
other than those couple?
I don't think I don't know. Maybe many because I feel like I have an old soul, but
You got an old soul. I can feel it.
oh, thank you.
Well, that wisdom only comes from being around the block a whole bunch of times and
Yeah.
understanding it's not all about success and power and money and fame and all this kind of stuff. It's a groundedness in, I'm here to be me, not to
Yes.
shine in front of everybody else and have more than everybody else. No, I'm here to be me. And once you understand that you're part of God and you're part of you, and now you can understand all those facets of why you got tangled up, you just shine out this thing that people feel and they haven't been able to embody because it's chasing outside is this whole
Yep.
world rather than inside.
And it's all inside. It took so long for me to understand what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And you can watch like The Matrix and stuff, like, whatever, but like it just
Mm-hmm.
it yeah. That's been like a something I guess learning about that meaning that it's all inside, that the external is just a reflection.
Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I need people to be aware and comprehend that all these lives that I say I've lived and I've been here since the beginning, if they truly embody their part of God, they have been too.
Yes.
So it's not, but I'm fully and completely embodying and grounding that into this being. So it may sound like ego, but it's not. It's
No.
just me saying, I fully accepted that those are parts of me. And we're living on multifaceted timelines. So literally we're living every possible choice and every decision and everything all at the same time. So we're on like 10 billion or trillions of different timelines that you made different choices and the world came out completely differently.
Jeez, that freaks me out a little bit.
You've lived every possibility that's ever existed. And guess
Oh,
what? Anya's just happens to be on this timeline. And there's beliefs that you can jump timelines. You can move to a timeline that's higher vibration because you've lived it and that's a part of you. And if you're part of God, you now have a connection to those things and you can choose to put your pure consciousness on any one of those timelines.
yes, that's why I think like you and I, we had to cut off that old relationships, old obligations, because our soul wants to ascend to that other timeline, which we know is believe is possible, but we had to clear the other choices that were on a different timeline.
Okay. So that resonates. So I choose right here and right now to move to the higher timeline in this space and in this moment and cut all ties to the old timeline because it doesn't feel good. And I step forward.
Beautiful.
That's how simple it is. I
Yeah.
choose. I
Yes.
choose to move to that timeline where we're getting through COVID and I have relationships and have more sexuality in my life and have money and abundance. I choose those things because this suffering and this is not propagating anything more than feeding old darkness.
Yes.
I'm not going to let that happen.
And so let's just cap it off by saying it's done. It's
So be it.
easy.
And so it is. It is. Absolutely. My
Yeah.
son just got home from school, so perfect time.
Perfect timing. All right.
Anything to wrap up? Thank you.
No,
No.
not for me.
Well, just be aware that crazy things are going on and the energies, and I'm still smiling, but I'm gritting my teeth most days now because it's not fun. But hopefully, what we just, no, not hopefully, for sure what we just chose has made a change.
Certainly. Yes.
This drives me nuts too. This is part of my old reality, and I'm going to clear it up one of these days. But it's just age spots and other things. So
It's gone. It's done.
it's gone and it's done.
Beautiful.
Loving everybody. Hopefully this resonated. We talked about some crazy stuff.
I loved it.
We're going to do some more on Thursday, and we'll see where we end up. The world's going to be different by Thursday. I guarantee it.
Yep.
My choice. You choose too. If you want to follow us. The old Paul will still service this channel. So thank you. Thank you, Anya.
Thank you,
Have
Paul.
a good one. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. See you soon.